Hello again. If you've watched my videos, then no doubt you've noticed that there's this big brown stain, usually somewhere in the background of whatever it is I'm recording. And in case you're actually wondering what that is, it was actually a ferric chloride spill that happened years ago while I was working on etching a copper board. So over the years, I've tried a bunch of different types of cleaners to try to get this stain out, and I've had like very minimal success, as you can see. I mean, this thing, it went all over the place. It just kind of spilled, and then it just went underneath stuff because I had a bunch of other stuff sitting on top of the bench. So yeah, a bunch of different types of cleaners, and nothing has really done much to get it out at all. I've had just maybe like little bits at a time that kind of lifted and it lined it up. So getting kind of tired of seeing this, and I mean I don't have another mat to replace this one with. I consulted my good friend Google, who suggested a few websites that I look at. And one of the websites I look at, they were actually talking about a similar issue about cleaning up ferric chloride spills on anti-static mats like this. And there was four things that were suggested, and I actually have those four here with me now. So out of the four things that were suggested, we've got Barkeeper's Friend, which is a cleaner for like stainless steel, fiberglass, porcelain, chrome, all kinds of stuff like that. Mostly like used for cookware and things like that. Naval Jelly, which is also a pretty good rust remover. I've used this before for other projects and stuff, and it works pretty well. And I never actually thought of using it, so I think that was a pretty good suggestion. And then also a dilute solution of muriatic acid. This stuff is nasty. In case you've never actually used it, you want to open this up in like a very well ventilated area because it's just super strong. So, and I use that stuff for etching boards nowadays when I need to, like mixed with hydrogen peroxide and stuff like that. And then the fourth one is one that I really hadn't thought about at all. Coke. Apparently the phosphoric acid in the Coke will help lift some of that stuff out. I haven't tried any of these, so I have no idea which one's going to work the best and or what. So I figured we'd put all four to the test. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to split that stain off into like four sections, and we'll do one at a time. Obviously, I don't want to get these two all mixed up or something like that. It's going to be suicide. Whatever ends up working is probably what I'll use to finish off the rest of it. Alright, so I used a crayon here and I marked off the big main brown stain into four sections. So on the top left here, we're going to have the Barkeeper's Friend, and top right we have the Naval Jelly, muriatic acid, and then we're going to have our Coke down here at the bottom. So we're going to start with Barkeeper's Friend up in this section, and I'm going to try to just try to keep it into this small area so we can see what kind of effect it has, and then we'll move on to the other three. Alright, so first up is the Barkeeper's Friend. And the thing about Barkeeper's Friend, that's the one that's supposed to do the job, is the oxalic acid. So I guess if you've got that available in some other form, it may work. Well, I guess we'll see how it works, but that's what's supposed to do it. So I've already pre-mixed a little bit of this, and I'm going to apply it with one of these kitchen sponges. I'm going to make sure that I don't go into the other section here. So we'll see how well this works. Well, maybe I should leave it on here for a little bit, or if I should just keep on scrubbing like this. Because it's underneath the mixture here right now, I can't really tell what's going on. I can't tell if it's lightened up much at all or not yet. Although the stuff itself looks like it's starting to get a little bit orangish, so it looks like it's doing something. It's at least lifting up some of that stuff. There's a spot right here. I've been kind of scrubbing pretty hard, and it actually seems to be making a difference. I have to scrub like really hard though, but this spot right here, where my thumb is right now, yeah, I've been hitting this here for a few minutes now, and it seems to be working. So yeah, so far this stuff's looking pretty good. Alright, I've kind of wiped away a little bit there so it's easier to see, but this spot right here, I was really putting some pressure down on that, and it seems to really have lightened up. So I don't know. We're looking pretty good here. I think this stuff might do the trick if the other ones don't do anything about it. I mean, it does take a lot of effort, though. I mean, I'm putting a lot of pressure down on the bench here, but so far that's looking pretty tolerable. I think I might be able to live with that if I can get a lot of this out. All right, so let's move on to the next one. I'm just gonna wipe this up and get as much as I can of this stuff up without getting any into the other sections so it doesn't interfere with the process. Just one little side note here, but this stuff smells like fart. Alright, next up is navel jelly. This stuff also smells pretty strong, so if you're using this stuff, you probably want to use it somewhere where you got some ventilation going on. So I'm just going to put a bit of a drop on there, and then I'm going to smear it around using a Q-tip or a cotton swab, and we're going to let it sit for a minute or two, and then we'll see what kind of results we have. This is not really the kind of stuff you scrub or anything. You just kind of let it sit there. It's like a gel. So let's see what happens here. We'll let it sit for a bit. Alright, it's been a couple minutes here, and nothing much as of yet. The thing about this navel jelly is that it also contains phosphoric acid like the Coke does. So whatever results we see from this, probably not going to be too much different with the Coke, I'm guessing. It's been about a bit more than 10 minutes now, and I've been kind of constantly moving it around, and I even added a little bit more. But while this stuff is pretty good for removing rust off things, it really doesn't seem to be doing much in our case here. It's like it hasn't really lightened up at all or anything, and the navel jelly's like pretty much still the same color as it was when I put it on. So unfortunately, it looks like this one's going to be a no-go in our case. Alright, on to the next one. Yeah, even wiping it up, you can tell that it's still like super pink, so it's like it hasn't really done anything. Okay, so on to the muriatic acid. I didn't see any specifics of how much to dilute this, but so I ended up doing 2 ounces of distilled water and then adding a ½ ounce of the muriatic acid to it. So it's dilute, but it might be still a little strong. And so I'm going to use a straw, sort of like as a pipette, and I'm going to drop a little bit into a little puddle to this section here. And we will let it sit for a bit and see how that does. Kind of spread it around a little bit more here just to get a little more coverage. About 15 minutes in or so, and don't really see any change. So I don't know, it doesn't look like the muriatic acid is doing much for us here either. I even put a little drop of a little more concentrated stuff right here on the side to the left, and that hasn't really done much either. So I think this is also going to be a no-go. Alright, so maybe I called that one a little too early. After wiping it up, it looks like this little spot here where I put the stuff on a little bit more concentrated has actually lightened up a little bit. Not a lot, but it has lightened up a little bit. And then I can also see sort of an outline here of where that big blob was. Doesn't look like it's as visible on camera. Maybe it is, I can't really tell. But in person, it has gotten a slight, like just a little smidgen lighter than it was before. So on to the next one. Alright, so yeah, in all honesty, I'm not expecting much out of this one. If the navel jelly didn't do anything, then this is probably definitely not going to do anything at all. So let's put a little puddle of stuff on there, and we'll let it sit for a while. Let's make it a little bigger. Alright. 15 minutes, a bit more than 15 minutes in, and no more bubbling or anything, and no really big change either. Yeah, like I said, I really didn't expect this to do much. even after wiping it away. It's yeah, like really no change at all. All right, so it looks like the clear winner here was the barkeeper's friend stuff. Yeah, with the second place of the muriatic acid and navel jelly and the Coke were tied for third place there because they didn't really do anything. So, barkeeper's friend it is, or oxalic acid. Alright, I know it's going to take a lot of scrubbing to get all of this out, so here goes nothing. Alright, well that ended up being a little bit more disappointing than I was hoping for. It turns out that when I initially tried cleaning that one spot up here with that cleaner, that for some I just happened to have gotten lucky, and that spot there was relatively easy to clean up without too much effort. A lot of these other areas where it's a bit deeper, like the stuff is just seems to be like embedded in the material to the point where like I don't know, I was scrubbing for like 20 minutes trying to get all this stuff off, and some areas lightened up, but a lot of it didn't. And right here you can kind of tell that this area lightened up. I mean, it's lighter overall for sure, but in like a lot of spots, the stuff just would not lift up. So that just we're just gonna have to live with it until I get a chance to maybe replace the whole thing. So I'm pretty sure that the whole cleaning process wasn't like totally chemical, where the reaction with that stuff was pulling this ferric chloride out of the mat, but it was also because of the fact that the cleaner, the barkeeper's friend stuff, is also kind of abrasive, and using the brush was able to help, or the sponge was able to help lift a lot of the stuff up. But yeah, I think that's as good as it's gonna get. So oh well, we tried. You can kind of see what I mean here about some of the area lightening up. Like in the middle here, it lightened up quite a bit, but right around the perimeter of that, the stuff's just like really embedded. So yeah, this the inside of it cleaned up quite a bit, but it did still leave a lot of the staining on there. And then other areas over here, you can see where it was relatively easy to clean up in those spots, and like some stuff here, but the stuff that's like deep in there is just it's not easily coming out, and I really don't want to put that much effort into it. And that was the original spot where I thought that we were going to be able to do that all throughout, but yeah, it turns out that was a no-go. So oh well, if you've watched it here, thanks for sticking by. See you guys next time, and see you guys around the bench.